Some songs push the limits, but these reggae songs blew the limits to pieces. From secret messages hidden in happy wedding tunes to anthems that had the government terrified, these tracks were pure controversy. Stick around to hear about a song that was blamed for starting a real-life riot. 1. Bob Marley, Burnin' and Lootin'. It feels almost impossible to see the name Bob Marley on a list of banned songs. Truth be told, he is a global icon for peace, love, and bringing people together through music. His songs are about standing up for your rights and finding unity. But before he was a worldwide superstar, Bob was a revolutionary voice for the struggling people of Jamaica, and some of his messages were seen as incredibly dangerous by the people in power. Back in 1973, he and his band The Wailers released an album called Burnin', and on that album was a track called Burnin' and Lootin'. Just the title alone was enough to make the authorities nervous. The song paints a picture of a city under a strict curfew, where police and soldiers patrol the streets and people feel like they are trapped. Bob sings the haunting line, "This morning I woke up in a curfew. Oh God, I was a prisoner too." He was giving a voice to the frustration and anger of people who felt oppressed by the system. Then came the chorus, where he sings about burning and looting tonight. For Bob and his many fans, these words were a metaphor. He was talking about the fire of revolution burning in people's hearts and about mentally taking back the freedom and justice that had been stolen from them. It was a symbolic cry for change. The government and the police, however, did not hear a metaphor. They heard a literal call to action. They believed the song could inspire people to go out and actually start fires, break into stores, and cause chaos in the streets. This was during a very tense political time in Jamaica, and they saw Bob Marley's powerful voice as a threat to public order. As a result, Burnin' and Lootin' was officially banned from the radio. They couldn't stop people from listening to the album, but they could try to stop its rebellious message from spreading through the airwaves. It showed that even a message of freedom, when it's powerful enough, can be seen as a dangerous weapon. While Bob Marley was talking about a metaphorical fire, our next artist got into hot water over a song that sparked a huge real-life debate between men and women. 2. I Wayne, Can't Satisfy Her. Not all controversial songs are about fighting the system. Sometimes, a song can cause a firestorm just by talking about modern relationships in a brutally honest way. In the mid-2000s, a thoughtful reggae singer named I Wayne released a song that did exactly that. I Wayne was known for his conscious lyrics, often singing about spirituality and social issues. But with his song Can't Satisfy Her, he waded into the messy world of romance and money, and the reaction was explosive. The song is sung from the perspective of a man who feels like he can't do anything right to please his girlfriend. He sings about working hard, buying her nice clothes, and giving her everything he thinks she wants. But no matter what he does, he claims she is never happy, always ungrateful, and constantly demanding more. The song was a direct critique of what I Wayne saw as a growing problem of materialism in relationships. He was calling out the idea that some people value possessions and money more than love and effort. As soon as the song hit the airwaves, it divided everyone. A huge number of men cheered for the song, calling radio stations and saying that I Wayne was speaking the absolute truth about their own experiences. They felt seen and understood. On the other side, many women and other listeners were deeply offended. They argued that the song was incredibly unfair, painting all women as if they were greedy gold diggers. They felt it was a one-sided story that ignored the man's role in the relationship's problems. The song sparked a massive gender war in Jamaica. It was debated endlessly on call-in shows and in newspapers. It was so polarizing that while it was never officially banned, many radio stations would only play it during debate segments, afraid of the angry phone calls they would get otherwise. A song that caused a war between the genres is one thing, but believe it or not, the next song was seen as a public danger because it was tied to a dance so wild that people were actually getting hurt. 3. Elephant Man, Ponda River, Ponda Bank, AP.
Yo, Ellie live in the studio with my first caller. Where's my first caller at?
Let's jump into the super high-energy world of modern dancehall with an artist known as the energy god himself, Elephant Man. In the early 2000s, dancehall music was all about new dances, and Elephant Man was the king of creating songs that came with their own set of wild moves. He dropped a track called Pond to River, Pond to Bank, and it became a global sensation almost overnight. The beat is wild, frantic, and makes you want to move instantly. The lyrics are not deep, they are simple, direct instructions for the dance. The song tells you to run pond to river, which means on the river, and then run pond to bank, which means on the bank. The dance itself was just as crazy as the music. It involved a whole lot of running, jumping, and acting out the lyrics with a ton of energy. At parties and stage shows, people went absolutely nuts for it. The problem was, the dance started getting a little too real. People were taking the instructions literally. Dancers, caught up in the hype, would run and jump right off the stage. They would leap onto speaker boxes, climb up on tables, and dive into the crowd. It started becoming a real safety issue. There were many reports of people getting injured at concerts and parties, all because the dancing got way too out of control. People were spraining ankles, falling off stages, and crashing into each other. Because the song was the direct inspiration for this chaotic behavior, some officials and event promoters started to see the track itself as a public safety hazard. In several Caribbean countries, the song was banned from the radio, and DJs were formally instructed not to play it at large public events. They had to put a stop to the music in an effort to calm everyone down and prevent any more injuries from the dance that was just too wild to control. A song that got banned for being a safety hazard is pretty wild. But the next song on our list got in trouble for a totally different reason. It was a love song so full of steamy passion that some people felt it was just too intimate for public listening. 4. Gregory Isaacs, Night Nurse.
She's the one, the only remedy.
Gregory Isaacs was known to reggae fans around the world as the cool ruler. He was one of the smoothest, most soulful singers the genre has ever known. His voice was like silk, and his laid-back romantic style made his love songs legendary. In the early 1980s, he released what would become his most famous song, a beautiful track called Night Nurse. On the surface, it is a classic love song about a man who is feeling sick, not with a cold or a fever, but with a broken heart. In the song, Gregory pleads for his night nurse to come and see him because only her care can cure his pain. He sings about his temperature rising and his condition getting worse, and he needs her special treatment to feel better. Now, what could possibly be controversial about a sweet and soulful song like that? Well, it was all about the feeling and the interpretation. It was pretty clear to anyone listening that he was not singing about an actual medical professional. The night nurse was a very clear metaphor for his lover, and the sickness he was feeling was his desperate, burning need for her physical affection. The song is filled with so much passion and longing. You can hear heavy breathing in the background, and the way he sings about his pain sounds very, very intense. For some of the more conservative radio stations and listeners back in the day, this was all a little too much. They felt the song was too steamy and suggestive. It beautifully blurred the line between romantic love and a much more grown-up physical desire. It was considered too intimate for daytime radio. While it was never given a nationwide ban, many programmers quietly moved it to late-night slots or just chose not to play it at all, making this classic love song a forbidden treat for many. A love song that was too hot for radio is one thing. The next artist on our list was not hiding anything. He made a bold public demand to make a certain plant legal, and the authorities were not amused at all. 5. Peter Tosh, Legalize It. This next song is more than just a song, it's a global anthem, a powerful statement that is still chanted by people all over the world today. We are talking about the legendary Peter Tosh and his incredibly bold track, Legalize It. Peter Tosh was one of the original members of the Wailers, along with Bob Marley. But when he went solo, he became known for being even more outspoken and militant than Bob. He never held back his opinions, no matter how much trouble it got him into. In 1976, he released his debut solo album, and the title song, "Legalize It," was a direct challenge to governments everywhere. There was no hidden meaning in this song. It was a straightforward, powerful argument for the legalization of a certain magical herb. In the lyrics, Peter Tosh lists all the people who he claims use the plant, from doctors and nurses to lawyers and judges. His point was simple. If all these respected people are using it, why is it against the law for everyone else? He argued that the herb was a natural thing, a part of creation that had medicinal and spiritual benefits. He even called it his holy sacrament as a Rastafarian. The album cover was just as defiant as the song. It showed a picture of Peter Tosh smoking the herb in the middle of a vast field of it. As you can probably guess, this did not go over well with the authorities. The song was a direct slap in the face to their laws. It was immediately banned from the radio in his home country of Jamaica and in many other nations around the world. They saw the song as a dangerous promotion of an illegal activity, but banning the song only made it more powerful. It became a rallying cry for people fighting to change the laws. Peter Tosh may have gotten in a lot of trouble for it, but his brave protest song became one of the most famous and influential in the history of reggae music. Challenging the law is one way to get banned, but our next song didn't get in trouble for what it said, but for who it was associated with. This track became the theme song for a real-life violent clash in the streets. 6. Junior Murvin, Police and Thieves.
Guns and ammunition.
This next song is widely considered a masterpiece of reggae music, a haunting and beautiful track produced by the genius producer Lee Scratch Perry. The song is called Police and Thieves, and it was sung by a man named Junior Murvin, who had an incredible high-pitched voice that made his words sound even more urgent and soulful. Released back in 1976, the song paints a dark and vivid picture of a society that is falling apart. Junior Murvin sings about a world filled with chaos, where there are police and thieves in the street, scaring the nation with their guns and ammunition. The song's powerful message is that in this broken society, both the criminals and the law enforcement are forces of fear and destruction. It is not taking sides. It is a sad commentary on a world filled with conflict and violence. The song became a huge hit in both Jamaica and the United Kingdom, where social tensions were running very high. The real controversy exploded during the famous Notting Hill Carnival in London in 1976. That year, the carnival, which is a celebration of Caribbean culture, ended in a massive riot. There were intense and violent clashes in the streets between the police and the city's black community. And the soundtrack to this real-life conflict, believe it or not, was Police and Thieves. People were actually chanting the lyrics in the streets as they battled with the police. Because the song became so directly linked to this real and violent event, it instantly became hugely controversial. The authorities saw it as a dangerous anthem that could inspire even more unrest. It was quickly banned from many radio stations who were afraid that playing it would be seen as pouring gasoline on an already raging fire. A song that became the anthem for a riot is serious business. The next song was also about street life, but it caused a stir because it used a single specific slang word for an act of extreme violence, and the authorities thought that was crossing a line. 7. Ini Kamoze, World of Music.
Hey, hey, hey.
Let's move into the 1980s with an artist who had a completely unique style. His name is Ini Kamoze, and his vocal delivery was different from anyone else, almost like a reggae rapper with a sing-jay flow. He released a powerful song called World of Music that became a massive anthem in the dance halls and a favorite for sound systems. The song is a brilliant piece of social commentary, a reflection of life on the streets of Jamaica. In the song, Ini Kamoze talks about how music is a reflection of everything happening in the world. It is in the city, it is in the country, it tells the stories of the rich and the poor. He masterfully weaves a picture of a society full of inequality and struggle, but also full of the vibrant energy of the music that comes from it. He was a storyteller, reporting on the reality of the world around him. But there was one specific line in the song that caused a whole lot of trouble. He sings the line, "In the streets, they call it murther." Now, the word murther is a Jamaican patois term, and it means the ultimate crime of taking someone's life. He wasn't telling people to commit this act. He was doing the opposite. He was contrasting his positive work of making music in the studio with the negative reality of the serious violence that was happening outside on the streets. But for the police and other government officials, just the act of using that word so openly in a popular song was a huge problem. They felt that talking about murther could normalize it, making it seem like a casual part of everyday life. They considered it irresponsible and dangerous. Because of that one word, the song was often kept off mainstream radio, deemed too raw and too real for the public. A song that was too real for the radio is one thing. The next song told a very real story too, but some people felt it was a little too cool, maybe even a story with a secret, messy meaning hidden inside its happy tune. 8. Toots and the Maytals, Sweet and Dandy. Let's travel back to the very roots of reggae with one of the most important and beloved groups of all time, Toots and the Maytals. Their lead singer, Toots Hibbert, had one of the most powerful and soulful voices in all of music. Their song Sweet and Dandy is an absolute classic. In fact, it was so good that it won the very first Jamaican Song Festival competition way back in 1969. The song has a joyful, upbeat, rock-steady rhythm that makes you want to smile and dance. It tells the story of a wedding day celebration. On the surface, it sounds like a perfectly happy and innocent song. The lyrics describe the bride and groom, who are looking sweet and dandy, and all the guests at the party who are having a great time, getting drunk as brandy. So, you might be asking yourself, where is the controversy in a happy wedding song? Well, the controversy is buried in the details if you listen very, very closely. The song goes on to describe the wedding reception as being completely chaotic. The lyrics mention that the parents are complaining and that the whole family is standing by. It sounds less like a perfect party and more like a big, messy family drama. Because of these strange details, some listeners started to think the song was not about a happy wedding at all. They suggested that the cheerful music was hiding a much more scandalous story. Maybe the wedding was happening for a secret reason? The line, "The baby's in the cradle," followed by all the chaos, made people's imaginations run wild. Was the song secretly about a forced marriage or a family secret being exposed? This possible double meaning made some conservative folks very uncomfortable. They felt the song was tricking them, sneaking a messy adult story onto the radio disguised as a happy tune. A song with a hidden story is one thing. The next song was also a hit that everyone wanted to hear, but its story was so obviously about grown-up fun that radio stations had to chop it to pieces just to get it on the air. 9. Beanie Man, Who Am I? Sim Simma. In the late 1990s, it was impossible to turn on the radio, go to a club, or walk down the street without hearing this next song. Beanie Man's smash hit Who Am I, with its legendary Sim Simma catchphrase, was a massive global hit. The beat was one of the most infectious things you have ever heard, and Beanie Man's clever rhymes and confident delivery turned him into an international superstar. The song is, at its core, a gigantic boast about how cool and popular he is. The main hook that everyone knows is Sim Simma, who got the keys to my bimma, which is slang for his BMW car. He's asking who is going to be lucky enough to go for a ride with him. This part of the song was fun, catchy, and perfectly fine for everyone to hear. But the rest of the song, the verses, told a much more detailed story. In the other lyrics, Beanie Man gets very specific about his adventures with the ladies. He used a lot of clever Jamaican slang and playful wordplay, but his meaning was crystal clear. He was bragging about his romantic skills in a very direct way. This created a huge problem for radio programmers all over the world. On one hand, the song was a certified hit. The public was demanding to hear it constantly. On the other hand, the original version was way too spicy to play during the day when kids might be listening. The solution? They had to create heavily censored versions of the song. They would cut out entire lines, reverse parts of the track, or use loud sound effects to cover up the racy words. It was a constant struggle for radio stations to find a version that was clean enough to broadcast, making this monster hit one of the most edited and unofficially banned songs of its era. A song about a modern party animal created a headache for radio programmers. The next artist also had a song with a fiery message, but the authorities were worried he was trying to start something much more serious than a party. 10. Capleton, That Day Will Come.
Equal rights and justice for all.
Capleton, an artist also known as the Fireman, is a reggae and dancehall superstar, celebrated for his incredible energy on stage and his powerful, conscious lyrics. He often sings about fighting for social justice and standing up against oppression, which Rastafarians call the Babylon system. One of his most famous and most controversial anthems is a track called That Day Will Come. The song rides an intense, driving rhythm, and Capleton delivers his lyrics like a fiery preacher giving a powerful sermon. In the song, he passionately calls out all the injustice, corruption, and wickedness he sees in the world. He promises his listeners that a day of reckoning is on its way, a day when the righteous will rise up and the wicked will fall. It is a song meant to inspire and empower people who feel powerless. The controversy comes from the very strong and, some would say, violent imagery that he uses throughout the song. He repeatedly uses the word fire and talks about burning down the forces of evil. For his dedicated fans and followers of the Rastafari faith, these words are clearly metaphors. The fire he is talking about is a spiritual fire, a symbolic cleansing that will purify the world of corruption and greed. It is not meant to be taken literally, but for government authorities and other critics, the lyrics sounded dangerously close to a literal call for violence. They worried that his passionate and powerful delivery could inspire some listeners to commit real acts of arson and destruction. They viewed the song as a potential threat to public safety, a track that could spark a riot. Because of this fear, the song was often kept off mainstream radio playlists, considered too inflammatory and too risky for the general public. A song that hinted at a fiery judgment day was too hot for some. But our next artist was not hinting at all. He was in the middle of a huge controversy, and instead of backing down, he released a song that proudly told his critics he was not sorry at all. 11. Sizzla, Nah Apologize.
Yo, Dada. Dada.
Now we come to an artist who, much like Buju Banton, has spent a large part of his career surrounded by major controversy. Sizzla is an absolute giant in the world of reggae and dancehall music. He is known for having one of the most unique voices, incredible energy, and a catalog of hundreds of songs. However, a number of his songs contained lyrics that were seen as promoting terrible harm against a specific community of people. For many years, he faced intense protests from activist groups, and many of his international concerts and tours were canceled. Most artists in this situation might try to smooth things over or explain their words, but Sizzla's reaction was the complete opposite. Instead of backing down or showing regret, he went into the studio and recorded a song that doubled down on his position. He released a track called Nah Apologize, which is Jamaican patois for I'm not apologizing. The title tells you everything you need to know. In the song, Sizzla fiercely and defiantly defends his beliefs and his controversial lyrics. He proclaims that he will not say sorry for the things he has said because, in his view, they are a part of his Rastafarian faith and his culture. He basically sends a message to all his critics around the world that he does not care about their protests or their opinions. For his hardcore fans, the song became a powerful anthem. They saw him as a brave cultural warrior, standing firm for his principles against outside pressure. But for everyone else, the song was just more proof that he was a hateful person who was unwilling to listen to reason or acknowledge the harm his words were causing. It drew a permanent line in the sand and made the storm of controversy around him even more intense. Sizzla got in trouble for being too harsh. The next artist on our list, however, caused a stir by being too honest about a very complicated and messy romantic situation. 12. Tanya Stephens, It's a Pity. Not all controversial songs are about fire, defiance, or breaking the law. Sometimes, a track can cause a huge stir just by being brutally honest about the complicated nature of human emotions. That is exactly what happened with the song It's a Pity by the incredibly talented singer and songwriter Tanya Stephens. Released in the early 2000s, this song tells a story that is all too real for many people, and that is precisely why it made some listeners so uncomfortable. The song is about a woman who develops very strong romantic feelings for a wonderful man. He is kind, he is charming, he is everything she has ever wanted in a partner. There is just one huge problem. He is already in a serious, committed relationship with another woman. In the lyrics, Tanya Stephens does not hold back at all. She sings with raw emotion about how much she wants to be with this man and how she knows that her feelings are technically wrong, but she cannot control them. The chorus of the song is a simple, sad statement. It's a pity that she met him after he was already taken. This level of unfiltered honesty was a bit of a shock to the system for many people. They felt that the song was promoting the idea of being a homewrecker or encouraging people to break up a happy relationship. It was seen as condoning the idea of being the other woman. While the song was never officially banned by any government body, many radio stations made the quiet decision not to play it very often. They felt the subject matter was just too messy and controversial, and they worried it might offend a large part of their audience. The song sparked countless debates about love, loyalty, and relationships, all because an artist was brave enough to sing about a very real and very complicated human dilemma. A song about a messy love triangle is one thing. But what about a song that leaves absolutely no room for imagination? A track that describes grown-up fun in such graphic detail that it got banned almost everywhere instantly. 13. Vybz Kartel, Romping Shop. If you thought some of the earlier songs on this list were direct, you need to prepare yourself. In 2009, the undisputed king of modern dancehall, Vybz Kartel, teamed up with a powerful female artist named Spice. Together, they created a song called Romping Shop, and it did not just push the boundaries of what was acceptable in music, it completely destroyed them. This song left absolutely nothing to the imagination. From the very first second to the last, the track is a very, very detailed and graphic conversation between a man and a woman. They are discussing, in incredibly blunt terms, their plans for a romantic evening together. The lyrics are a back-and-forth exchange where they describe exactly what they plan to do to each other. It was so direct and so graphic that it made older slackness songs from artists like Shabba Ranks or Yellowman sound like innocent nursery rhymes in comparison. There was no clever slang or hidden meaning here. It was all right there, out in the open. The reaction from the authorities was immediate and severe. The Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica, which is the official group in charge of what can be played on the country's radio and television, banned the song completely and instantly. They issued a statement saying it was unsuitable for public broadcast. But the ban did not stop in Jamaica. The song was so scandalous that it was also officially banned in several other Caribbean nations like Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana. They felt the track promoted a level of crudeness that was damaging to their culture. Of course, all this controversy only made the song a colossal underground hit. It spread like wildfire online and became a massive anthem in the dance clubs, cementing Vybz Kartel's reputation as dancehall's most daring and controversial artist.